X'éig Ḳutí ya yagi yanach yat aya we yagi ye awe Taakw.eetí aqa Ḳután de yaqnahin Tlesh Ḳután ya yidet qoa yatsutat ख़usatín qunach awe awdagan ho qunach awdagan qual Tlesh atinechat uti wakinak adi ख़után aya ख़után yachwe ख़utí gant khagud qoa qanachwe khatsi wa aten ho atinechat yati Yesu ya ach kinek adi qual kakin kudats ye awe ya yidet qoa wan qanins qual tsutleit Taakw satan qual kiwe ख़usatín we wasatu sako we awak Dísi X'éig Dísi hintanach Kayaaní Dísi X'éig Kayaaní Dísi at katachit yina Dísi at katachit Dísi khat Dísi ye qual kiwe at katachit yina Dísi awe wan qanins ख़usatín ke Taakw stanjin qual ye qati wan qanins aya akhua ya haani kach yisqu has ख़usatín gleit X'éig Kayaaní Dísi aqa hastu tuwu yanik Ili ye awe ya ach kani ye ya waqatliatke ya Taakw.eetí chu o ya Taakw ख़után wushas quwulga aqa wan qanins Tleinacha qoneyak quatlaq aqa chaguta qoneyak quatlaq ye awe wutusaku Lingi ani kak ltekat yech ख़utí Taakw.eetí khatra dasa kadasake ha yake dasa idat siudaku sitanake ha yake ye andakan Tlei Taakw sitan qishtiach dadyachsawe ख़utí ya ach tuwu aya chushuguye kakwati ye awe akhu a uhan chu oya wasa has qu like has wasa has chudanuk chu oya we ख़utí wushjin has ada ach tlach tuwa ushku qoa ye awe ach tu yake qoa yuhan ख़usatín qunne Kayaaní qat aqa ख़usaku Náakw aya qaqwashi tlash analle aqa qaqwashi Náakw ye awe tsacht ach tuwasaku ch'll ye qeqana qhuenji ach tuwasaku khashati akhua shukwa aya qoa ye awe ach I wudutletu atetu khashya we tsacht aqa qanashi tleshi tuwa ushku we de Tlein tuwan wushachech Ajoyach tuwasaku we de Tlein adachech wagud at gatude aqaqhashi when nadayihin tis uski a ke qualke hinak akanach aya ke na ein wan qanins we tsacht ye awe ach I awlatu ya Viola Burgess Dísi awe yake awe tsutat aqaqishi shukwa ya hin nadayihin akanach aya kanach we litzin Taakw.eetí awe tuwasaku aqawe hin qaqanch ach chiyeti ye awe Qanay weheen a daaya kakhosaha. Qanjaya a kade kakwashasus. Qaqonayuch akwatan. Sacht kwani. Sacht yegi has. Gunnel cheesh yuchsatini yag. A joy yidachanaya kakwashahash. Kakwashahash. Yahana kusaksati. Jagudachaya aqaqhuashin. Yahashilkohas. Yahatsu achtuasagu hasiyach. Yaqaqwasti. A joy yak echatyati. Just jayagu gingia. Kakwahash. Kwashyatayach. Naskidihin kwashtahundihin. Just like at acht Kayaaní dach. Aka chakut yede kakwakut. Chakut acht ka. Ye awach just one qanins. Where acht khati yagdiwutlaq. Aka awe qanachlitina tuyeti. Khat qoa yetlaq. Kakijaq. Lekatwe Kayaaní. Ye awach tuasagu. With acht aqaqushi. Taakw.eetí. Galchi shaqiti sa akhi. Wasagi tuj.
X'éig Taakw.eetí tquaha. Audivan ayawditi kanachayaydat. X'éig Xusi hayat ida. Xusi X'éig qusq ida yaqi iqani ka Taakw haskunde in te dasat adayu tu khatankyaidat. Yes, Sandikatsko Sunday Coast Guard exams yen khosane. Naga owesh to cut yagi Eagle Crest shakiki khatuti khuni yantin kunakhuwe tu yake ka qandat wushu qautusha art sky du khosatin latsu khavier tsu khosatin diskli ka saknin hajit hasawti ha ewuk ekanach gunaftish
Sheesh. Khuni Martha Van Heel sucked ye jene Daik Daik was Daik wasa wasa do a sock Kayaaní before Martha Van Heel.
Ashukat.
Akshakat. Memories. What's that do with sock Lingit Kayaaní?
Was Қтуеетí at.
Қтуеetí at Martha Van Heel sucked ye jene Daik Jincot talk behind years ago.
Taakw. Was
Oh yeah.
Taakw shuahi.
Oh. Jeez.
Gul cheesh. Clay de hina wa Tlein. Ade aya Ḳutí Xatqa ach yetki qa achshat. Qallatut. Ya hayu qatangi yan shukak aya aye hawutian. We yan shukate aya wutu aquch. Yan wutu quchu aya X'éig. Ya zisk asa ya watlaq. Gol just tleikigi gol deichigi awa ya wachi. Atachawi has ya watlaqi. Ya dlikwas aya gweil Tlein toot. Tlein we zisk gli. Kayaaní. Awe we gan akach. We do wudus at akaye wuti zisk tai. Qanach awe aya has outlet seek yug. Ya achunkian achkanian. Has khat husatin. Yes yawaqa. Ito gesigu. With zisk tai. Yanuane atlachonach. Just joy a conclude a kaye wuti. Wasa akayake. Qonaya achin has a Kayaaní gadat. Ziska tluni. Qanachoe acho has a shagug. A de a tlunya. Ye awa 4-wheeler you do a sago at a ka aya at has wukuch. A de aya has a tlunya. Aya kleinach ziskowe kleich zisk hasawa Gwashnashli aya guchsa hasawa tlun. A de haswu Chitle hasawa hasawa jakaya zisk hasawa saku. Gaud kaude hit way 4-wheeler ka haswu gudi. Aka awe on yan shukade haskak wajesh yuachtakat we ziskutli. Ay lingit khanakhwe hastituasagu anasio hasawaha qadzisk khlu dasa atuwetla. Atsu wait atlakat atasituasagu hasawaha. Ya Tlein khaqo atluni. We nestat we gao. Qane hasak khatlun. But iti tat. Ye our June. Who kunakhuta. Our June. Du llilko has adat. They do nakaya haswu art. Ja'an awe kunach du June. Tutye wutiyen. Aka awe we zisk. Kuchte haswu de kuch. 4-wheeler kach. Kone aya adatye hasji wudne. Adachawe hasituasuku adachawe hasawuchash ldekato ayik adi. Has satin koa. Anasi tlechkuste. Kasi ye. Anachse anasi tlechliat. Shukwa aya. Yis tlechwite yachaya hasawastinen. Ziskaga kusti anasi qud. Witleinach ka. Ye yawa ka. Nestato achlil ko has data ye achwa June. Tlach nach has du ewu keen. with zisku nasi. Gwall hastu tuaw sa gu ajo e Kayaaní. Ye awachan na kawanik. Chikle awachos sa ku eka at awe. Kanachoi hastu tlilko hastu tuaw sa gu. Joy yechwajian. Kegachletzin we yan shuka da yejini. Chish.
Sheesh. Zisk Ji ka Sagu Ukli Hwasi Tatge Lekudzi Awa.
You huh? You can. Ja, ach, du hast so gut, Taakw agachtu tla yatatsu. Wan qanins, chakut yuqatangi Ḳutí, ya taika at adat. Tlailqaqinach yidekakunik. So, don't want you to forget these remember verbs, a whole bunch of them. And I want to talk about like sort of the subtle differences between some of these and also the relationship between this and forgetting. So we're going to start looking for some patterns and also thinking about when we look in the verb dictionary, how we could look something up and then start to think about how all the pieces get put together, especially like in terms of the way we study Tlingit now and then how we sort of back reference that back to this stuff, these ancient texts from the 1970s. And so we'll start just sort of with the first one that they list. So first we just sort of look at what the description says. Remember, especially without conscious effort, recall, come to mind. So we have ka, dak, sayaha. Okay, so that gives us some, it doesn't give us all the information like the way we write verbs now. And then we see tlech, ka, dak, chat, sawuha. I didn't remember you, you didn't come to mind while I was away. And the second one, akada kasiwaha ya adeya wakaye. They remembered that he had said this. Or they had said, I would say also, they all remembered the way he had said it. Or the way they had said it too. Like we got, as we sort of adjust these pronouns, right? So this tells us what kinds of things do these examples show us that we can then put some extra information in here to help us remember and understand how this verb works. Cue the crickets.
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
I was just thinking that, you know, I guess where I get stuck sometime is I'll start breaking down what I'm looking at instead of thinking of how a good way to remember it. Like sa ya ha. I understand they're talking about, is it remembering something on top of my mind, like it's coming there. Is that what that sa ya ha is referring to?
Yeah, I would say like this is to, well, so we'll see one down here. So this is like basically, oh yeah, I remember that, but I didn't have to think real hard, right? It's sort of like it's this memory and maybe something, something reminds you of it, but it's sort of like, and we'll see remind coming up pretty soon. So then the remind one, once we see this sashaha, that's the same verb. It's switching the classifier to say somebody does it. So for example, like, oh yeah, you're talking about getting the medicines. This reminded me of
Yeah.
shuuti. And that
Yeah.
is sashaha. But
Hey.
this one is just sort of like a memory pops up, right? It's like I didn't even have to think of it. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember this thing, right? And so, and it could be you go to a place or you have a smell or something, and it just sparks up this memory. That's kind of this one. It's like it kind of pops into your mind.
Yeah, when you were talking about collecting medicine and offering it some tobacco and giving thanks, it totally gave me the memory of being out in Dai with Martha Van Hill and Yvonne Jack and getting some sucht. And she had me doing the labor part, and she did the offering of tobacco to the sucht and gave it some words. But man, I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Wow.
So that's what I would say right there.
Yeah, her Tlingit name was Shuateen. She's
Yeah,
amazing.
she was.
What else does this, because there's some extra information that the samples show us that's not written right here. Do you want to offer anything?
Another thing I'm noticing is where does the pronoun go? So since it's happening to me in the first example, X'éig, or it didn't happen to me. And then the second one is X'éig. So I'm just paying attention to where the pronoun goes, and then also that the top one is negative and the second one is positive. So that we go short and high for the negative and then long and high for the positive.
Yeah, it should tell us what the conjugation prefix is. It does.
Is that 0?
That's right. Long and high, it's got to be a 0, right? And we can see that it changes, so it's not invariable. So again, just coming back to these things, whatever it is, like the object pronoun is the one who remembers. So this would be Taakw.eetí. You remembered it, right? Taakw.eetí. Taakw.ha. Taakw.eetí, right? So just in terms of how to start putting this into, it's sort of like you got to put it into use so it gets into the rotation so that you'll remember, right? And then the other thing is, what about the thing that you're remembering? How would I say, for example, how would I say, oh, you remembered me?
Ḳutí.
Very close. You gotta switch that last one, or that first one. Because we can't say Ḳutká, because that's
Oh,
trying to make it an object pronoun.
Would be
gook.
X'éig.
That would be you remembered us.
Oh, ha, like XA.
Oh, cha. No, that would be a subject pronoun. But
Okay.
if you flip them over, if you change their spots, then you got it.
Okay.
Ugh.
Achka. So that's just like the my one, like my on, my on. So this remembering is coming on to you, right? And we'll look at the forgetting one after this too. But this is the sort of thing. So this like, and we see it right here. Ika. So you could say, ye ka dak chet sewaha. So I remembered all of you. So this shows us how we can switch what we're remembering and then who is doing the remembering. And if the thing starts to get long, like this, then you say, and then you put the specific thing afterwards, right? Akadak chatsewaha, we shuwatin, duin aya, nak da yejituneyan. I remembered when we were working with Shuateen on medicines, right? So the is the placeholder. I remember it. Then you could name it afterwards. So just like keeping these things, keep them in mind.
That's great. Thank you.
Mhm. So then next we get a cut sayati. Oh, and one more thing about this. Sa, if you have sa or in a perfective without a pronoun, with no subject pronoun, you will get say. That's where the say comes from. And you'll also get chewatan. You chewatan. They talked. And in this case, say waha. It's sa plus you plus ya gets you sewa. Okay. So the next one down is to keep it in mind. So this is, again, a little bit different. It's not like, oh yeah, I remember this thing. It's like, I'm not going to forget. I will not forget this. And this is to consciously keep this in mind. And this is like, I don't know, like you always forget to lock the door. So then you gotta be, I can't forget to lock the door. So this is a really conscious effort to be. Oh yeah, it's X'éig. So here we would put N, Ka, Taakw, O dash Sa dash 0 dash root marker Ha. I have to look up which Ha it is. But this one, Ḳutí. So because this is third person, we don't know if it's an object or a subject pronoun. Because if there's only one of them, we can't tell. But what we can do is we can go look up this, we'll go look up the Kayaaní verb. So we're looking for Kayaaní, number 2. That's important here because there's a million T verbs. So we're going to go down to T. There's number 1, not what we're looking for. There's number 2. That is what we're looking for. As we go through, it's listed by classifier, 0, 0 or D plus 0, S. Then it starts to add thematic prefixes and start over. And it does it alphabetically. So here's Kayaaní, and it says state. So that means it should be an object pronoun. So going back to the remember verb, when we see this, we would say, Ḳutí, I am keeping it in mind. Ḳutí, you're keeping it. So it's same thing. And then you could have Ḳutí, I'm keeping you in mind. I'm making sure I'm not going to forget you. Right? So let's say something's happening and someone's getting anxious and they're saying, what about me? What about me? And you say, I'm keeping you in mind. I'm not going to forget you. Ḳutí. The next one down is another one, sort of like just sort of saying, I'll never forget it. And this is the same verb for like it's inside of you, right? King Dísi used to use this all the time. And so when you have two, that X is optional. So you would hear people say Kayaaní, but I think it was more common for people to say Kayaaní. So it can fall off with certain vowel endings. But this would be, so again, as we go and we see Taakw.eetí. So with this yati verb, once you know how to use yati, Ţlein, Єnqutí, Ţlein, all of those can be used at the same conjugation right here at the end. And then you have whatever the thing is, and you would have a possessive. So you'd say, Ḳutí. I'm keeping it in mind. I'm never going to forget it. It's inside of me. Okay. So going down, we see Aka, Taakw.eetí. So we can go into the samples and see if they show us some things. Gunashchish, Aka, Taakw.eetí. Yitlaani, Ka, Taakw.eetí. So this has a subject. And we know that because T plus I gets you T. right? So I could say Ḳutí, you were born, and I could say in this case, or you exist, Ḳutí, and then Tí Datani. So this is you were thinking of it. So the verb root here is to think. So literally, so as far as like how these things are working, it's sort of like this one has to do with like kind of appearing or moving invisibly as far as the verb root. This one has, I think it's a motion verb to move things around. And then this one is to be, and this one is to think. So it's like literally saying, I'm thinking on it. Okay. And then we have a plural, which is tutlaat. Taakw.eetí. We thought of you. Again, this one reveals that it's a zero conjugation. So, you could say something like, keep it, think about it. And so this is to think about something. And then this one would be used for like, if we're sitting around talking and we're saying, well, what was that person's name? And then we try to, once we thought of it, this would be the process. Like I had to think of it and then I remembered. And there is, when we get to the forgetting one, don't let me forget about Ḳutí. We got to get to that one. So then we get to remind, and this one it's operating just like really the same as this first one we looked at, but we changed the classifier to L. So we see sa ha. So in this case, we would put N ka dak o sa s L classifier ha. For S to remind O of N, right? Just in terms of like how this stuff works. There's a subject here that's the one doing the reminding. There's an object here that's who's being reminded. And then there's a noun out here for what's being reminded of, right? A ka, dak, that's fun. SH to an SA. Kayaaní. I made myself remember that I'm going to the store. Ake dak has sailaha. Did you remind them? Look at where the question marker goes. It's on question marker. Dak, which is to come out into the open, right? Has sailaha. Atcha hat ye kasanit. Aka dak chat saushaha. He reminded me to fetch the food.
This root's like one of the top 10 verbs we should all know, huh?
Yeah, like remembering, reminding. It's really it's a good one to sort of get into, and maybe well, I mean, let's see. Maybe next week, and remind me. Remind me. We should do sentences about remembering and forgetting. As long as we don't forget. So let's get to, and then akat saishlati, or sashlati, akat saushlati. They kept on reminding me. We do have, and that's this same one here, right? So this one would be like, oh yeah, you reminded me of that. Or what you said reminded me of this other thing. But this is the thing where it's like, don't let me forget it. You have to keep reminding me. So this is the continual thing, right? Or this would work well for like, I'm always reminding my children to be kind, or whatever the thing is, right? So it has to do with a repetitive action that you don't want people to forget.
Is there
It's,
anything, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Is there anything like Shauna Kate mentioned earlier about deja vu and like remembering something or thought you remembered something?
Oh, that's interesting. I would have to talk to a speaker about, because then we're going to get into like probably the Tlingit philosophies on deja vu, which I remember I was hanging out with Lakota people and they say, you're getting deja vu, that means you're doing it wrong because your spirit's like, we did this already. And so, but that's their thing. That's with the Tlingit. I'd have to, anybody ever hear anything about it? And I know there was one that Kakashat told us just the other day, which was when something is so long ago, she said, I think, "Chutle achwakshiyich junyachyati." It appears to me like a dream.
Ah,
Um, but when you get into something like deja vu is sort of like, I feel like I've done this before, right? So I'll ask. I'll see if I can find anything.
Can you put that to X'éig what you just said for the appears like a dream in the chat?
Chutle achwakshiyich. Chutle. I don't remember the word order. Chutle achwakshiyich yeeti junyach. I'll have to ask her about it too. So, oops, chutle, sorry. I don't know where that E came from. So, chutle is like just then. Ach wakshiyich. So that wakshiyich is like in front of the eyes. It's a very important concept in Tlingit. Like if you change that ach to ka, that's doing something in front of people. And that's when it becomes like really important, you know, like, and then yeeti is to be, but in this case it's like to be at a place. So ach wakshiyich yeeti, you appeared before my eyes. And then June, yach, June is a dream. And then yach is like. Oh, Gnchish, yeah, away. Sashaha. And if I remember, this is my running joke. If I remember, I'll put together some examples with all of these ones so that we can just look. And I think quite a few of them are on the verb database as well. Okay, we'll do forget, and we're gonna get to a couple other things. So when we see forget, we're going to see we'll see some similar patterns, but only really, there's only one listed here, but I'm going to tell you folks one other one. And that's, so here we have ka, sa, ya, which would write as 0 now. That's the classifier. So then we have a kach, ha, sa, we forget. Kesh ach kat sa, they didn't forget me. And then a lot of us have learned a kat se wukak. And once we hear that say wukak, we should know that is also a 0. Lots of these are 0 conjugation. Probably tells us something about sort of understanding how remembering and forgetting works in Tlingit. We can also look up this root because it's quite a bit different, right? The other one, ha,
Uh,
musically, T, to move like a some type of object around, and then tan to think of something. So then we will look at this hastutu nigu akat has saututluk. We cause them to forget their sorrow. So this works like that's a nice thing, right? It's like a metaphor. This is saying like we brought them over to joy. Like it's a very cultural type of thing. But this would work as well. So you could say akat khat sailak. You made me forget. Like I was trying to say something and you interrupted me or whatever, right? Just you made me forget it, you know? And so I do this all the time working with speakers because I'll be like, start running my mouth because someone will ask how to say something like, is it this? And then they're like, you made me forget. But the same thing, right? So you could say, do cut you made me forget them, right? So now I'm blaming you for something, right? So, but just in terms of like keeping track of who's doing it, who it's happening to, and then what the thing is talking about. So this one has both what we'd call an indirect object, which would be outside of the verb, and that's the something cut. Then we have the object, which is the one that it's happening to, and then we have the subject who is causing this whole thing to occur. So we'll look up the root just so that we can get an idea of how this works in Tlingit. Because I think this works a little different than the remembering one or the keeping in mind. So when we go look up we see forget, to make forget, to be comfortable, and then to die off all at once. So I think this is one where maybe we'll take a look at the notes and see if there's anything in here that we might find as well. Just to do like a deeper dive on one of these verbs. And I gotta zoom in. So here it is, akat sewuk, forget about it. Akat ash sawuk, made them forget about it. Haswuk, they died off all at once. So it is related to that. Like it has to do with something dying off. So like the act of forgetting, I think, is a little bit more consequential. It just seems like in Tlingit. And there is one other way to say, like, so if this happened to me today, like someone was asking me about someone and I should remember their name. I just should know it. But if I can't remember it, but I should know it, I would say, I lost it. And that's and I think someone, I heard a speaker say, I lost it in my mind. And that was a kind of a neat way for them to talk about it.
I have a question about Haswuk Ayak, they died off. Can that be for things that are non-human too? Like, you know, like us or, you know.
Yeah, I think so. And then especially if it was like something really caused all these fish to die, like it was very
Mhm.
unusual, and we needed to sort of do that. Because you could also say, ach, hashuhi. And that's a bit more of a indirect saying. Like, for example, I think haswuchak would be like they died off. And then I think hashuhi would be, I guess an English equivalent might be they're all gone now. In terms of like really saying it directly and then saying it kind of an indirect way. Good question. Okay, so now that we've forgotten and remembered to forget and forgotten to remember, let's focus. We're going to zero in on a different verb because I heard this one from a speaker today, and it got me just sort of thinking about ordering and sending things through the mail, which could be a really fun thing sometimes in Alaska because there's not a whole lot of shops all the time. So we're going to try and just sort of, and we'll work together on this one. So what I'm looking for, I ordered it to be sent by mail. These are all to be sent through the mail. I ordered it, order it as a command. I will order it. You ordered it, they ordered it, it was ordered. How are we going to find this? What should we go look for?
Just crack open that Tlingit verb dictionary and check out ordered is where I'd try to start.
Okay, let's go look for order.
There you go. Oh, there we go. A yawu.
Okay, so we do have a ways. And so this is a good reminder that if a verb ends with this double O, and if you close it, so this suffix closes it and this suffix closes it, what happens is it turns into W-E-I. Okay, so the U goes to way. And we see it like Ausaku, they know it. Ya anas queen, they're getting to know it. Keet, hade hasyawagu, the killer whales swam over here. Keet, hade yanaguin, they're coming over here right now. So this is something, so this is the verb root we're looking for. But it doesn't show us a whole lot because these examples they've all been closed, right? So we could see how to say like, don't do it, but we want to say like, did it and do it. And so this doesn't show us a whole lot. If it showed us a perfective, it would show us a lot more than these examples do. But these are fine, right? So, and it also gives us the name for catalog, which I should put in the dictionary, even though catalogs are still a thing. I still get them now and then. Especially Uline. Why do they send me this gigantic? I'm not going to order a whole bunch of office supplies. Okay.
I get a lot of that too.
I don't even remember. I don't think I've ever ordered from that. Okay, hold on.
Wasn't there a word also like Jindaha or Jindaha or something like that?
Yes. So, Jindaha would be another one for sending through the mail. That's a really good point. And so if we look up send, we're probably going to find that one. So we'll look up send, and then we'll go look up, we'll just do a little bit more digging on this woo verb. But this is the verb we're going to hone in on. But let's go look at send and see what we come up with as well. So under send, we get sending someone on a mission, and then here is to send or order for. So ka hat jushaha. So this is getting closer to that one, to send for something or to, you're sending someone to go get it, basically. And we see Tsagli awe X'éig ach a akwasawu. I'm going to send you some seal meat. Ye each age aduswech. Did somebody send you to do this work? Tlakaskch du yeet jig ausewu. This is the magic one. I've been sitting around waiting for a perfective, and now I've got one. So I will tell you, awu and ausewu are going to have very similar structures, The thing that's going to change is the classifier. These are both going to be zero conjugation verbs. These are also going to have the stuck on it. So when we see the letter A right there, that thing doesn't go away. Like we'll see it in atlún, atlúch, or sorry, atlún, atleich. We'll see it in atlich, atlúch. So there are some verbs where that letter A is just built onto the verb. The other thing I'll tell you is this A, this is how they wrote it back then. We would write this just as the letter N to send a noun. That's the noun that's going to send. And if you're just going to say it, it's going to be ach, high tone A, CH. Otherwise, you're going to attach this CH to whatever you are sending. We'll go look at we'll go look at two more spots, and then we'll come back to our translation work. So if we look in the notes from Jeff, we'll go to the W's, the WO, and we see order. Let's see, do I go up, down? I think it's this way. Okay. So then we see woo, and we see we'ati, an order to be sent. A ways, a kach, a ways, ordering from it. So what this would be like the catalog or the website. That's what you're ordering from. You could say G-day to say who's gonna get it. Then we see awawu, ashways, and ausawu. And then packing a lunch is also using this same verb. To male, to person, or place. Interesting. Okay. So we can have dujit in front of it. So that shows us you can say who's getting the thing. Again, this is an indirect object. So you could say achjit, ach, ausewu. They sent it to me. Right? Dujit, ach, ausewu. I sent it to them. Okay, so this gives us, again, a little bit more information on it, just sort of doing our digging around to see. This is showing us a little bit more. These are this lunchtime. Those are lunch, like packing a lunch type of things, which is interesting. Wu decate is the word for a lunchbox. So it's all linked to this same verb. So this is the thing. We're getting into the woo. And so let's look at one more thing. We'll look at the verb database and see if it has woo in there. Because the one thing that switches is the classifier, that means if we can get one of them, we can switch that classifier and we should be able to get the other one. So we'll go down to the W's. And here's order or send for. And we also have to take food along. There's packing the lunch right there. We're not worried about that. We're just looking for this one. For subject to send for order N. A woo. So there, and that's a singular command. So then you should have, for the sending one, it's going to change to aswoo. Okay? Because you get sa, woo, but when comes right before sa, it knocks the vowel out of it. Okay? And here's awawu. So awawu, awu, and the future, sorry, akwawu. So there's our three forms. The other place, I'll tell you where you use this as well. Let's say you're out, yakikt, Gwashiakiktewe atiekoch. Kayisitin. Keet. Gwashastu. Gushi aya hin chuka. Yisitin. Gunch. Ya eight hini kade kakkisus. Ye yakriha. Ach eight I woo, please. Ach eight I woo. Ach eight I woo. So when you see those killer whales and you're out on the water in a boat, you sprinkle tobacco onto the surface of the water and you say, Ach eight I woo. Send me something to eat. That's just what and that goes all the way back to Raven when he went down to the Nas and he saw these people fishing. He started yelling at them, Ach eight I woo, ach eight I woo, Gwashi ka an kwakoots. Send me something to eat. I might break the daylight on you. So this verb it's deeply embedded in our culture, and it has to do with sending something. So we've done all of our investigations. We come back to here. I ordered it to be sent by mail. And let me do a little copy and paste here for us. So let's see. Maybe it'll work. Okay, so here it is. Let me make it bigger. It's kind of.
Will it start with the A?
It will. And so in this case, like, so if we have this qa to, that's the thing I ordered. So, for example, if we go back to here and we see aqa. So aqa, a lot of us who learn Tlingit, we learn aqa as like, and then. Aqa away, aqa away. And it is, but it also means to go after something. You're going for the purpose of getting it, right? Just like if two people are if one person is sitting on their porch and they see somebody walking by and they say, "Good day, Sayani good. Where are you going?" They might say, "Hundakahitite yan chakut. I'm going to the store." Dat qasa. What are you going for? Taakw.eetí. I'm going for coffee. Right? So that's what the qa is. Like you're going to get that thing. You're going after it. So aqa away literally means after it, but it also works for a verb like this. So the aqa is going to be to order it. Ooh, these are tiny. Hold on. Now we gotta do the verb.
The stem is woo.
Yeah. And it's gonna be high, right? Oh, let me get some of this other information.
Is it just that aga also woo?
Well, not gonna have the S though.
Ah, because it's a zero conjugation.
It's a zero classifier.
Zero classifier. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we gotta keep the on the front. So that gets us right to this part. What's the thing for I did it? Like I walked there.
Huh?
It's cha. And so what
But
we're
ach. now?
Here's the parts where we need to have yu in there because it happened, and then we need to have cha in there because I did it,
Yeah.
and then we need to have ya in there for the classifier. Yu, cha, ya. What's that gonna get us?
Oh,
Achwawu. I ordered it. So this thing can throw you off a little bit, but just once you see it in the theme, you gotta remember it's gotta stay there. Okay.
the wa part is what got me.
Achwawu, right?
Ach made a little sense after you, but the wa is where I get confused.
Well,
Oh,
this
hua. Oh, I
What?
see.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's a little sandwich.
Yeah, he already did it. Hua. I got it.
It's the
Okay. Oh.
definition in between these two pieces of bread.
Oh man, it's like the levee finally broke. Okay.
So now here's the it part. To command one person.
Anawu.
There's no na because it's 0. So just
Oh.
knock the na out of there.
At. Ka.
Atsewu.
There's no s. We're just gonna
Oh,
go and straight to the root. And it's gotta be long and high in this case.
Atwu.
Atru. Yeah.
Awu.
Awu.
Oh, right.
Aka'awu. Order it. You could say, for example, you could say Atchaqa'awu. Order food. Order food. I will order it.
Kakwawu.
Okay. Okay, so there's the kakwa. It's still like adekakwagut. I'm gonna go there. Adekwagut. I went there. But we're just attaching this right? Because it's there, can't go away. You ordered it. This one's a little tricky. So, there is a bit of a pattern here, which is like, for example, let's take this. So if I took this verb, oops, right? So yachwadlaq, it's doing the same things as this. It's got some stuff before it. Then it gets to the root. This root is low. But if you succeeded, anybody know that one? Yachwadlaq.
We're gonna win.
If you
Or
did,
we won, I guess, huh?
well, if I'm trying to say you won,
Yeah.
Huh?
it's gonna be yeah, right? Yeah. So this is going to be the second person singular is going to be yeah. And then the second person plural is going to be ya yi. This pattern, well, even if this was ka, this would be kahwa, kia, kayi. And it's a very consistent pattern, especially as long as we have a 0 classifier. So with that, if it's not yiya or kiya, because it just starts with it's going to be iya. Okay, so we're gonna say aqa. Oops, I pushed the wrong way. How about they ordered it? Yeah. So in this case, it's a little unusual because is there, but same with and if a lot of the body function ones, they all have this on it. So if you want to say go and poop, yeah, it would be Ḥutí, right? So that would be the same. It would be follows the same sort of structure, but we're just seeing what happens when you have this and you can't get rid of it. Aqaiyawu. What about this third person doing it? They, she, or he ordered it.
Us.
But we can't change the class of, yeah, well, that would be plural. Aqahas, we're just doing a singular third person.
Agadu.
Well, that would be that one's coming.
Okay.
But this one, it should be, so with these, like, so what we have up here,
Ah.
so here's this. We got to keep all those same parts for here. I'm going to make this really crowded. But... So what happened is this changed to I. So what must happen here is this changes to 0. This third person subject is always unmarked. There's never anything there.
Awawu.
Awawu. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So same thing. You have Yahwadlaq, Yiyadlaq, Yayidlaq. You would have a Yawadlaq, which it does follow the same pattern, right? Okay. It was ordered. So now we're going to have the d, but we can't leave the out of there. And they're also
Aqa'adadlibu.
but we can't change the classifier.
So aga awadu.
Do wa.
Wahoo.
Oops.
Oh.
Keyboard
Oh.
whining on me. Aqa awduwawu. Right. So we get a few unusual things. There's a lot of W's in here. That's totally fine. It's like Yao do wadlaq. Somebody succeeded. Somebody won. So now that it's been ordered, oh, well, I guess we'll do this. Okay, so let me consolidate these answers. I'm going to get rid of all the extra stuff. So now the pronouns will all stay the same here, but we're going to change it to different things, right? So the verb itself shouldn't have to change. But if I want to say I ordered coffee.
Ka-kwe-akwawu.
So you'd say Taakw.eetí.
Ah, ka. Okay.
So the changes to the noun.
Okay.
That's I ordered, or I'm saying order pencils.
I haven't said pencils long. Is that kachita?
That's a
Ḳutí,
basketball.
close.
Huh?
It's a basketball.
Oh, what am I thinking?
Ḳutí,
Beautiful.
Kujita.
Kukita. Oh.
Go all the way back.
Kujita. Yeah.
Now we've got basketballs and a totem pole and pencils. It must be it. Must be fancy. I will order
Kudas.
It was like on the tip of my tongue, man.
kudas. Kudas.
Yeah.
This is just show you can now just substitute
I
that
see.
noun in there, right?
Tichka.
Ordered shoes.
Tichka.
Tichka. Right, and so actually this would switch. Let me check. This one will go low, and that should probably go like that. And that looks fine. Okay. Tichka. They ordered gloves.
Ka.
So I have to check the tone. Taakw. Awawu. And a hat was ordered.
Shaki Atka.
It's like a regular hat.
Well, here's the thing. I was argued one time by an elder when I referred to a shadakuk as a shadakuk, and he said, anything that's on your head's a shakiyat. It doesn't have to just be the one with the frontlet on it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm doing just like a winter hat, so you can put on a glove.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Taakw. And again, so that's high, so this will switch it. So this one will switch. So this qa will be the opposite of whatever's before it. So it goes qa, but it will start going low if the noun ends with a high tone. Okay. Now that we've ordered everything, now we gotta get in the warehouse. And now we're gonna send it. So I'm gonna show you, so here's the ordering. This is what's gonna change. So now it's gonna go to CH because the qa is to go after something. The CH is to use it as, it means just to use it. This is gonna change to S, and we've got it.
Was it always low?
What's that?
The stem got low.
No, these are all high.
Okay.
But there would be a low version. So for example, if I wanted to say, I'm not gonna order pencils. We're gonna get totem poles instead. So I might say, Kujita akwa woo, and that would go low. But when we look at the theme, if it's not marked as high, that means that there's a low version. That's all that it shows. This can change. I sent it by mail.
Does it still start with a ka?
No.
Like,
Ach.
Ach. Yep. So now all these are going to switch to ach. Then they're going to switch to things. But if, and then again, we have achwawu. And so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here underneath. But what happens is that. And so how is that going to change it? Those two things are going to change.
Well, ought, wouldn't you have it change it to ought for it? Ought?
No, that's just going to be the ach.
The ought, okay.
Yeah, this is a weird one. It sits outside of the verb, technically. Because the this letter A says can't have an object here. Can't have an object pronoun. I'm taking this spot.
Akhwasawu.
Yes, but it contracts a little bit more. So in this case, you would say ach auchsewu. Auchsewu.
Oh, so,
Auchsewu.
oh.
Akhsawu.
Oops. So here we are going to have ach again. And this is what we're going to have. This is what the command form for this is going to have. Where's my marker? Oops. Uh-oh. Lost my keyboard. Pause for effect. So this will have
Just woo, us, awu, asiwu,
yeah, so it's going to be us woo.
woo, us woo, yeah.
All right, so ach us woo. And if you're trying to tell someone to send you an email, you could say achjit ach us woo. Send it by mail to me. Achjit ach us woo. Ishgun yejini. Send me your school work by mail, by email, right? So whenever you have this whether it's this one or the third person both of those, if there's nothing in between that and the classifier with the letter A, it will knock that letter A out. That's what's going on right here. Okay. I will send it by mail. Oops.
So that the A has to be there, and then you said you added the CH, so the noun and the CH together is ach.
Mm-hmm.
And then the so and it's a future.
Mm-hmm.
And then I blank out and my eyes roll back in my head.
Well, we're here together. Get it. So going back. So again, like sort of looking back at what we have akwawu, but this does have to change, right? So this, again, we're just practicing, well, what happens if I change this classifier? Because what this is made up of is and then we get ga, qa, cha, 0. So those are all the things that are in, we're not going to worry about the root, it's going to stay the same. So what we need to change is this, and what would, if this is an S group classifier, what would this change to?
Well, that's the classifier. Then isn't it just S?
Yeah.
Well, it should be this one right here. It should be
Oh.
just the same as this. And there's, if Х will protect this vowel. I will protect this vowel. So nothing, it won't get knocked out. So we, G, Q, Ch, even though there's lots of things there, these four things will always become Q or Kukha. It'll be one of those two things, but it has to become those six. There's so many things in there that it must condense. Kukwa or Kukha will always be the future.
So the underlined G and the underlined X, I know that's coming from the back, would be a KA.
Yes, and that happens all the time. For example, so if I'm going to say, let me help you, you're going to have Qa, Kha, Da, Shi, right?
Huh.
And then, and this is going to happen again. Qa plus Kha gets you Kha. So you'd say, eat Qatashi. This is going to happen a lot. Qa and Kha is Qa. So that's what you got here. Uk. So this one, the vowel gets knocked out. That rolls it back to the K. So now this one becomes a K. Once you take that vowel out, it turns into a K. These two combine, and this one kind of jumps over. And when these two combine, they become the underlined K. When the U jumps over, it becomes a W. And then we have to get the on there. And then
Then you have to have the S.
ach akwasawu. So now you know how to tell all your Shingit teachers, oh, I'm going to send it. So they start with the command. Ach aswu. We ne shi achakwasawu. Taakw.eetí. It'll be okay, I'll send it. Or whoever. We kukdana achakwasawu keka. Truly, I will send the money.
Checks in the mail.
That's right. Hechwasaku wasa atmune. De ach achsawu. I don't know what happened. I already sent it by mail. Right? So these are all like good. This is how you're gonna raven up your language here.
This is the good stuff.
Okay.
Next time I call IPEC.
That's So this exercise is like just to show you like once just like trying to sort of master these verbs so you could start to, it's all about manipulating, like getting the freedom to start doing this stuff and figuring out, okay, there's something here. That means the same stuff goes on right here, but we just can't drop that thing, right? So, and that's what causes this contraction. We go from khwase to aukhse. But you would have this, there'll be other verbs where you could find this, where you could have kauchse, or you can have like kauchsecha, I poured it. Igucha cut kauchsecha, I poured it into your cup. Right? And so, but once we start just by continuing to practice these, we'll start to see and be like, oh yeah. And what's wild is if this changes to L classifier, you would have auchle, or sh, auche. Would follow the same pattern. Only thing that would change is this consonant in the classifier. So with a lot of this stuff, what you're trying to figure out is like, well, once I get it, I could just learn how to just change this one thing, and I've got it for all these different patterns. So we'll finish this one on Wednesday. They're gonna send it. It's gonna get sent. Then we're gonna specify the different things that we're sending, and then we'll be done. The check's in the mail. We'll be able to say it all.
Checks in the mail.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, if you have stuff to share, share it on Wednesday. And we might have, I don't know if the Taakw group is going to be meeting in person So I'll probably end up going to campus for class on Wednesday in case they do. So if any folks in Juneau want to meet in person, I don't remember what classroom I'm in. 109, I think. Whichever one it is. And then well, let me stop the recording. Grilled cheese.